Look at your forearm right now. Hold it flat, palm up, the way you would carry a plate across a room. Now put 15 pounds of predator on it, not a bag of rice. A living animal with a wingspan wider than you are, tall black hooked talons the length of your fingers, and a grip that closes at around 440 pounds per square inch. That is roughly 15 times the crushing force of your own hand. In the largest individuals, some estimates run as high as 750. It is not sedated, it is not caged. It is sitting on your arm and it is looking at you. 3,000 years ago, somewhere on the freezing grasslands of Central Asia, a human being worked out how to make that animal hunt for them. Not for sport, for survival, for the fur that kept a family alive through a winter that dropped to 50 below. And then, after about a decade, they let it go. Your ancestors domesticated the dog, the horse, the sheep, the goat, the cow, the chicken. This animal they never touched. Nobody ever has. But before any of it could begin, the hunter had to choose a bird. And here is the rule that never changed across 30 centuries, 4 countries, and a dozen languages. They took the females. Almost only the females. A male was usually released back into the sky. You are about to assume you know why. You will probably be wrong. The real answer sits inside a piece of evolutionary biology that scientists have only recently pinned down, and it means these hunters were never choosing the stronger sex at all. Hold on to that. For almost all of human history, hunting was something you did with your own body. Your legs, your arms, a stick with a sharpened stone lashed to the end. Then somebody looked up. The earliest solid trace of a human hunting with a bird of prey is a fragment of pottery from Tel Chuera, a site in what is now Syria, dating to the 3rd millennium BCE. It shows a raptor on a human wrist, a bas-relief from the palace of Sargon II at Khorsabad, carved somewhere between 722 and 705 BC, shows a raptor and a handler. Around 1270, Marco Polo described the nomads of Central Asia hunting on horseback with falcons, hawks, and eagles, as though it were the most ordinary thing in the world. But the detail that should stop you is a body. In the Tarim Basin, in what is now northwest China, the desert preserved a group of tall, richly dressed people for over 2,000 years. Elizabeth Wayland Barber documented them. One of them is a woman, wearing a sheepskin coat over a striped woolen skirt. On her left hand and forearm is an enormous, thick leather mitten. Adrian Mayer, a research scholar at Stanford, matched that mitten to the bioli, the protective gauntlet still worn by eagle hunters in the same region today. Same size, same thickness, same purpose. She was buried in the 4th or 3rd century BC, which means the thing on your forearm right now, in your imagination, was on hers in reality. And that is where the story actually starts, because you cannot buy an eagle. You have to take one. The bird is usually taken as a fledgling or a young adult, lifted out of a cliff nest before it has fully learned the sky. This is not a gentle process. The parents are somewhere above you, and they weigh what their chick will weigh, and they have the same talons. Then the hard part begins. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. The traditional method is a kind of engineered exhaustion. The young eagle is hooded and placed on a perch that never stops swaying. To keep from falling, it must constantly rebalance. It cannot settle. It cannot sleep. And beside it, hour after hour, sits the hunter, awake, talking, singing, chanting, so that the first stable thing in the bird's collapsing world becomes the sound of one specific human voice. Its ankles are strapped and tethered to a wooden block. Every attempt to escape flips it upside down. Within a couple of days, the fight goes out of it. And from that point on, one rule holds absolutely. The bird eats only from the hand of its master, nobody else. Every scrap of raw meat, 4 or 5 times a day, arrives from the same fingers. It is not that the eagle learns to love the hunter, it is that the eagle learns there is nothing else. But that is not the whole picture, and modern practitioners will tell you so. Lauren McGough would know better than almost anyone. She was awarded a Fulbright scholarship in 2009, moved to the Altai Mountains of Western Mongolia, and apprenticed herself to Kazakh eagle masters, hunting foxes from horseback. She later earned a doctorate in social anthropology from the University of St. Andrews on the subject. Her description of the early stage is far softer than you would expect. The hood works, she explains, because raptors are overwhelmingly visual creatures. Cover the eyes, and the panic drains out. You bring the bird into a dim room in the evening, lift the hood, and hold a glove loaded with good meat. Most of them start eating remarkably fast. Fear and food, applied by the same pair of hands. That is the whole foundation. But feeding a bird is not hunting with a bird. The next stage is the shurga, a fox skin, dragged behind a galloping horse. The eagle is taught to come to the glove first at 2 or 3 meters, then further, then further. until it will cross 200 meters of open air on command. The fox skin teaches it what to chase, what a fox smells like, and where to strike. Everything is rehearsal for one winter morning. The hunter rides to a ridge above a valley, the eagle hooded on his arm, supported by a Y-shaped wooden rest strapped to the saddle, because no human forearm holds that weight for hours. Below, helpers move through the snow, flushing whatever is hiding. Movement. The hood comes off. A trained golden eagle can pick out a fox from over a kilometer away and drop on it at speeds past 240 kilometers per hour. And here is the part that reveals how precise this system really is. The bird is not supposed to destroy the animal. It is supposed to seize it and hold it, pinned and screaming, until the hunter arrives on horseback. Because the fur has to stay intact. The fur is the point. The fur is the coat that gets a child through a winter at 50 below. Now, the females. A female golden eagle is around 25 to 30% heavier than a male, with a broader wingspan and a deeper beak. Larger frame, larger feet, more force. Obvious choice, you would think. The hunters simply picked the bigger, better version. Except that is not what the biology says. Reverse sexual dimorphism, where the female is the larger sex, runs through nearly every bird of prey on Earth. Hawks, falcons, owls, eagles. For decades, biologists assumed the females had grown, but when researchers ran the numbers properly, two major studies pointed the other way. In raptors, the gap opened mainly because the males got smaller. Read that again. The female is not the upgraded model. The female is closer to the original. It is the male who was shrunk by evolution, most likely into a faster, more agile hunter of small, quick prey, so that a breeding pair would not compete for the same food. So those hunters on the steppe, 30 centuries ago, were not selecting the enhanced sex. They were declining the reduced one. They had no word for dimorphism, no measurements, no papers. They simply watched what happened when they flew both, and their hands arrived at a conclusion that ornithology took until the modern era to prove. Which brings you to the strangest part of the whole thing. Training a single eagle takes 3 to 4 years of near daily contact with one person. She then hunts for roughly a decade. And then, in most traditions, she is released, untied, unhooded, and returned to the mountains to find a mate and raise chicks of her own. Golden eagles can live for decades. She gets those decades back. Nobody breeds these birds. Every hunter, in every generation, starts again from an empty glove and a wild nest. Which means that after 3,000 years of this partnership, the golden eagle is genetically untouched by it. Not one gene bent toward human convenience. Compare that to the dog at your feet, or the horse, or the sheep, or the wheat in your bread. All of them reshaped by your species into something that cannot survive without you. The eagle never signed that deal. It was a contract, honored on both sides, and then it ended. That is worth sitting with, because almost every animal you have ever touched has been engineered, across generations, into needing you. Loyalty as a manufactured trait. Affection as an inherited default. This is the one relationship your species built where the other party could always leave, and where staying was never guaranteed by anything except the quality of your own attention. 3 to 4 years of it, every single day. So look at your forearm again. Nothing was ever tamed there. Something simply agreed to stay a while, on terms it could break at any moment. And both sides knew it. That is why they let her go.